Our journey on the Lost Coast Trail. Our group consisted of 8 people, 6 adults and 2 very ambitious kids. Some things about the Lost Coast Trail.
Miles.
24.6.
Way out.
None, forward or back.
Terrain.
Rugged coastline.
Trailhead.
Mattole Point.
Ending point.
Shelter Cove.
Ways to hold food.
Bear Canister.
Difficulty level 1 through 10.
7. Moderate.
Number of impassable high tides.
3.
Time of year to go.
May to early October.
Sea life.
Whales and sea lions.
Welcome to our journey on the Lost Coast.
These are some pictures of where we stayed and the beach it was next to before we actually drove off to the Lost Coast. And we're off on our 2.5-hour drive to Mattole Beach. Don't forget your bear canister.
This is the gateway to the hardest trail we've ever done in our lives.
Day 1 at the lighthouse called Punta Gorda. We climbed all the way to the top and we ate lunch here. Salami, cheese, and crackers. It was so much fun.
If you're fortunate enough to avoid bears and rattlesnakes, that's definitely a good start. But make sure you don't slip and break a leg either, because you can't even remember the last time you had cell service. And there are actually no roads in or out of the Lost Coast Trail. So you must resort to contacting the National Guard with an emergency beacon. And you better hope you broke your leg during low tide so the helicopter can land and get you to the nearest hospital. The corners were probably one of the hardest parts because they seemed never ending and it was always like corner after corner after corner and just around the corner.
Looking back on this, there were so many different types of rocks, probably the most I've ever seen in my entire life. But we definitely cannot forget about how hard they were to climb over. Just ahead, right there, do you see it? It's a sea lion. There was so much sea life and animals, including jackrabbits, deer, and even whales. This was a really cool moment on the trail because most of it was sunny, hot beaches, but just back a little, there was a cute little river that we had to cross, and it had a lot of greenery, which was really cool to see, since we weren't used to that for most of the hike. Good night. This is how pretty much every hiker woke up in the morning. Tired and very, very, very sore. Now for the most important meal of the day, breakfast. This was Mountain House scrambled eggs and bacon. It was so good. All you had to do was add heated up water and voila! This might sound a little funny, but I honestly loved this meal, and looking back on this clip, it makes my mouth water. It was so good, and it was definitely my favorite.
As far as food goes, there's plenty of options, but our group ate a lot of top ramen.
How did you sleep? This is what our tents looked like in the morning and at night, right before we had to take them down. I was talking about how we saw a rattlesnake the night before that was so scary, but we did have to kill it just to make sure it didn't come in our tents at night. But make sure you beware of rattlesnakes. They hide under rocks and in driftwood.
Oh, and don't forget about this sign we saw.
And we're off. This was probably one of the hardest parts of the trip because it was so hot out. I don't know if you saw my brother's head, but it was filled with sweat. This, though, was the life. Taking off our shoes in the sand next to this little lake river thing. And then after, we went back to our camp spot. That was one of the worst days of my life. Going through rocks and mountains and up and down and corners and corners and corners never ending. It was horrible because, I was kind of dying out there. Okay, well, yeah, get back to you guys. The second day it wasn't even windy, except at night. It was so hard to put up our tents. We even put my brother in there and he flew away with it, but don't worry, he's okay. Good night.
The mornings were probably one of the hardest parts, fitting all of those things into those tiny little bags again.
Oh, but like last night, I didn't even want to eat my ramen.
Oh my god.
I like forced myself.
That was probably one of the best days from the 4 days. This is where we're staying. Buck Creek.
Next time we can eat
Yeah.
in the creek.
Didn't really record at all of today, but we're all just kind of dying today. Usually,
This is gonna be our walkway though. Try to be close to me.
yeah. That's it.
How's the wind right there?
Goodbye.
The wind ain't block.
We definitely wanted to get on the road for this one because it's the last day. Woo woo!
Sitting on the log at the end of the trail was not just satisfaction or a destination for us. It was our version of a fairy tale.